lose his eyes watching the rest of the Hobbit. It's a movie I watched. I watched once, and I swear to God, I'll never watch it again, man. Whew, it's a long one.
Oh yeah.
After this, I don't know, like after those first couple Lord of the Rings, I kind of lost track of them. Like they were awesome, but it just seemed
Yeah,
like they were
but
just trying to stretch, make as much money as possible.
yeah. Well, yeah. So read me and the little dude read The Hobbit, and so now I was like, okay, so we read it. Now we get to watch the movie. So
Yeah, cool, very cool. All right, Joseph, is it Namor? Namor?
Namor. It doesn't. Everyone butchers it, so it doesn't really matter. But it's
Namor.
Namor.
That's Namor. I don't sing. I'll stop. He's used to me singing. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, guys. Audacity. All right, you guys all got it up? Or
got it.
Yep.
okay, I'm just gonna say 1, 2, 3, record, and then just record. I can stagger them and all that stuff. So if it's not on time, I can tweak it easy.
Sounds
Okay,
good.
guys.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, record. Like almost every time, there's someone that won't show up. Son of a bitch, mine's not even working. Poor. Is you guys is working?
Yeah, it's good. It's tracking mine.
Okay.
I haven't really said anything, but yeah, we're good.
Test. Why isn't mine working? I wonder. I'm gonna close mine and reopen it. Just keep yours going. That's fine. I'm the one who's supposed to know what I'm doing, and mine's the one that screws up. So.
We'll just key it up whenever yours gets working there.
Yeah, I can start over. I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing Dwight.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why. That's why I was telling Pete last week's audio was horrible. It was mostly me. Oh, my gain is way down. Check that. Is that better?
That's a lot better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my gain was almost at nothing. All right, let me see here. I'm going to try to record again and see if it works. Test. Still not really picking me up very well. Check. I don't know what I'm supposed to set this sucker on. I've never moved it, but that doesn't mean my daughter hasn't moved it. Joseph, it looks like you have a Yeti, right?
I do, yeah. I don't really know why I bought one because I don't podcast. I bought one thinking I might podcast at some point, and I've been on a few here and there, but yeah. I got it on Black Friday, so that was how I justified it.
On the underside where it has the gain button and the button that has the 4 little icons, what's yours set on? Like just flip it over, like kind of should be.
I got mine set to the butt looking one, and then
that's what mine is.
I was gonna say upside down heart, but butt works too.
Yeah,
we upside down heart. Yeah, there we go. And the gain's like at a quarter or something.
Yeah,
okay. See, my gain's at like 75%. Holy smokes! Huh? You guys can hear me okay though?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Much better now.
I can adjust it if I need to. I mean, it's easy enough. It's much easier to amplify down if I need to. Like, because when you start to amplify more, then you pick up weird noises in the background, and when you hit one of those on accident, amplified.
Yeah, I have a very squeaky chair, so I apologize in advance.
It's all right. And see, that's what I do is when one of us is talking, I'll totally wipe out the other 2 tracks. I'll like totally mute them so it won't pick up any background noises. So if you got to sneeze, you got to cough, just do it. You know, I'll filter it right out. So Audacity makes it really cool for that. I can just, filter different layers, and I love it. It's like a puzzle piece, and I kind of geek out. I do it at work, and it takes me like all day to edit a show, but it's still fun. So 10, 20 seconds at a time. So all right, guys. All right. Incredibly hot. Let's get this sucker rolling. like 95 in this room, I swear.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right, guys, welcome in. This is Devy Owner's Manual, episode 3.2. We are your source of knowledge for college to Canton, college to Canton leagues, pipeline, hike, and the Hollis, whatever you want to call it. We're just going to talk about that today. We got a big show on plan. We're going to talk about quarterbacks, which as an IDP guy is like my least favorite position, but for fantasy, it's probably one of the most important. So first up, I want to introduce my co-host, the deputy of Devy, Mr. Pete Lawrence. What's up, Pete?
Oh, it's just another beautiful day. Luckily right now the SEC channel had on the 2018 Rose Bowl between Oklahoma and Georgia, and just how much talent was on both sides of the ball in that game. CeeDee Lamb's throwing a touchdown pass to Baker Mayfield. Kyler Murray's on the sideline. Hollywood Brown's running routes. Andrews at tight end. Calcaterra, I don't know if he was dealing with concussions, but I mean, that's, he's on that Oklahoma squad. And then you go over to Georgia, you got Chubb, Sony Michel, Swift at running back. It's just fun to rewatch some of those games.
That's all we have nowadays, right? And I heard some news. I heard some really bad news today with all those guys in Clemson. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But first up, we have a special guest. He's one of our cohorts at DLF, and he also is in a couple of our leagues with us, Mr. Joseph Numore. Joseph, what's up, bud?
How you guys doing? Excited to be on. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. Always looking for different people to come on here and chat with us. And so I don't know, some big news today that could really have a huge, I'm going to throw this at you guys. I didn't put it on the show sheet, so I'm kind of out of left field here. But was it 27 players at Clemson tested positive for coronavirus? It's like, holy crap. Like, it's starting to really feel like maybe we have some sort of shortened season, especially after Division II announced the other day that they're only having 10-game seasons. So I think we'd be more in line to have a 10-game with almost no crowd than no season. But I don't know kind of what you guys think. Is that you guys, we're in all different areas of the country. We got Joseph up here in the Northeast, and I'm in the Midwest, and Pete's all the way out West. So we all hear and see different things. I don't know if you guys are hearing anything in your neck of the woods. Joe?
I haven't heard anything that hasn't been publicized on Twitter, which is basically nothing. I mean, people are under the impression that we're going to have a season, I think, as players start going back to school and people start congregating. We're going to get more of these reports where half the team's testing positive. And even if they're asymptomatic, it's pretty troublesome for the prospects of having a season. So I'm hopeful that we have college football as usual. Kind of need it for my sanity, but my sanity isn't the most important thing right now. So I'm hoping we have it, but I don't know anything that we haven't already heard.
Yeah, same boat, Peter.
Yeah, I know earlier on that I think governor in California had said that he doesn't see them having sporting events, especially, stadiums. So what does that mean as far as the fans? Watching the Premier League this week, no fans in the stands. It's kind of cool. They have like a Zoom, like a big Zoom screen behind some of the goals, which I thought was pretty neat. Even if it's an empty stadium, it's still going to be football. But if you can't have a college open or college students on a campus, how are we going to justify having, collegiate sports going on? Unless we just want to finally just admit that, they're athletes instead of we can kind of remove this whole fancy student athlete thing. Yes, they are student athletes, but listen, they make money. Let's pay them a little bit. Even Florida finally said that now players can make money off their likeness. So just admit it and we'll get it moving in that way. And then we get NCAA football back.
Exactly. I just bought a copy of NCAA 2014 for an Xbox. If there's no college season, those things are going to start going for $500 a piece because everybody's going to be buying them, and we're going to be simulating all our own crazy seasons and stuff. But and if you want to know what it's like without fans, all you got to do is just watch the Chargers games last year. So I mean, the Chargers are like, what? So business as usual for us, right? Anyways, so got to take a dig there when you get it. So. All right, guys. Like I said, this week we're going to talk about quarterbacks. There's obviously it's an extremely important position, especially when you got this campus to Canton Superflex, which I think I'm only in like 3 out of my 40 leagues are not Superflex. So, like, it's pretty rare to have. Yes, I have 40. To not have Superflex leagues anymore. Shut up. No problem. We you know what? I bet if somebody had a fantasy football addiction channel podcast, it would be like the biggest podcast. So I'm curious, like Pete, let's say your Superflex campus to Canton leagues. What do you like to have for your strategy? Do you like to have like how many college pros? How many how do you like to try to build your team when you build both of your leagues in those?
Usually at the pro level, during the initial draft, I'll maybe aim for 3 quarterbacks. Maybe hit a fourth if later on the value's there. At the collegiate level, just I think you got to really hammer it hard. I mean, there's 117 different quarterbacks, and a lot of you go from 117 starting quarterbacks, plus on a Saturday. And it's not counting, your Trey Lance and your smaller schools. And then you're going to 32. So a lot of your dudes, even big name producers at the college level, don't really hit at the NFL. So I just try to, hey, we're Heisman to Hollis together. We, the initial draft on the NFL side, I went, I think Tom Brady, Cam Newton, and Andrew Luck. Dude, I am screwed right now. Obviously, this team is not going to win a lot of games this year. I traded Cam. I think I traded Cam Newton right before Andrew Luck retired last offseason. So yeah, dude, I'm sitting on Andrew Luck because I've got to hope he decides he wants to come back. Be Rob Gronkowski. But so I'm taking as many quarterbacks as I can on the college side, just hoping I get something to stick. You get guys like Jake Fromm, you're thinking, hey, this dude probably is going to get a shot in the NFL. 4th round pick. He's on the Bills. He's behind Josh Allen. Now I got to hope that, at best Allen gets, I don't want to hope that somebody gets hurt, but if for my quarterback now to have value, Josh Allen has to get hurt. And Jake Fromm has to stop saying stupid stuff in text messages or tweets or whatever it was. So I'm screwed. Probably shouldn't listen to me. Don't stagger. Just get as many as you can.
All right. What do you think, Joseph?
Well, if we're talking about our drafts in the same league, I got Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Carson Wentz on the NFL side.
Okay, next question.
And then on the college side, I got Tua, Justin Fields. I got Kyler in like the 16th round because we all thought he was going to play one season and go to play baseball. Brock Purdy, Jamie Newman. So that was the luckiest draft in like the history of drafts. Set my team up. But what I typically try and do is, it'll also depend on how many roster spots you have on each side. I know our league's 50 on each. So you roster more QBs on the NFL side than you would on a normal team. But what I like to do usually is roster 3 to 4 QBs on the NFL side, and then 7 to 8 on the college side. And I typically stagger, kind of have a couple of each class, a few incoming freshmen, a couple sophomores. And then with my juniors and seniors, I try and target more college fantasy production, knowing that most of the Devy prospects were already drafted earlier. So I try and balance it between college production and some high-end Devy prospects.
Right. So for this question, we listen to Joseph and don't listen to Pete.
Yeah.
Joseph's good on this one. Pete bad. Okay. Yeah, I think that's probably the sweetest balance. Like I like to have 4 because you never know, and then probably like 8 or 7 or 8. Because like you said, there's different years. You want to do college fantasy. It's tricky. There's you guys. I'll go over some of them here in a few minutes just to kind of show you guys, the top scoring. It's crazy. There, you've got to pick some guys that are never going to be pro quarterbacks just because of the stuff they do at college level. But you want to try to have like a nice stack of incoming because quarterbacks always gain value. If you got a couple of them, well, not always, but they will gain value, especially if they start to hit. Like right now, like Joseph can do just about anything he wants. I mean, with that type of roster and quarterbacks, it gives you so many different options. If you're short a running back, you get rid of one of your quarterbacks, whatever. You got a nice little stack coming up, So it's good to stagger them like that and have that much, and if you hit on a couple of them, then you're in good shape and you can really, really like develop your entire team. So that's definitely the best way to do it. The more the merrier. If you have more than 50 spots, I'd go 10 quarterbacks even, because they're always going to, like I said, they're always going to gain value when they start to produce. So, and let's see. So we kind of talked about staggering levels because they have a long, short shelf life, but yeah, it's kind of a moot point. So, all right, I'm gonna go through real quick just to give you guys an idea of how crazy the college scoring is. Like, I took fan tracks in one of the leagues that I'm in, just to show you guys kind of what, like, in the last couple of years, guys like Nathan Rourke, Khalil Tate, Caleb Evans are all led scoring in college for 3 years ago. And where are those guys now? I mean, probably CFL. I'm not sure. Bryce Perkins, Cole McDonald. There's Jordan Love in 2018. He's now in the NFL. So that's good. Joe Burrow in 2018 was actually the 7th, which surprised me because some people thought he kind of came out of nowhere, and he actually had an okay 2018. But then 2019, I mean, it was Hurts and Burrow, Bryce Perkins, Anthony Gordon, Nathan Rourke again, Asher O'Hara, who's a good one for this year, Cole McDonald. So those are a couple of guys. These are guys that led. Lynn Bowden was the 9th highest scoring quarterback last season because of his rushing ability and what he did, in the other positions, but he was classified as a quarterback. So he actually got the ninth highest scoring quarterback. Oh, that was kind of crazy. I saw that name on there. I'm like, what? Huh? So I don't know. So these are just some things you want, like Joseph said, you want to make sure you have a couple of these guys that score a lot that will never be in the NFL. And it just allows you to set those guys and just forget them, like set your guys from Middle Tennessee, Hawaii, stuff like that, and just throw them in there and let them go, like just let them score. So I don't know if you guys got any ones that you're targeting this year, like guys that you really want to have. I put a list of what I found on this side of the top 25. Is there any guys you like a lot this year to maybe like lead your college side? We'll start with you, Joseph.
So, I mean, a lot of these guys are probably already rostered. Some of the main players that I'm interested in for like targeting in a startup, let's say, Sam Ellinger, not someone I think of as a pro prospect. He'll probably play. He'll either get drafted or be an undrafted free agent. I think he'll make an NFL roster, but I don't think he's really a professional football player really at this point. But huge upside on the ground. And I think one of the things we see in common with some of the names you just listed are immense rushing production, a lot of rushing touchdowns. You want to be sort of a goal line back for that team if possible, or just play on a team with a horrendous defense where you're going to get into shootouts. So he's one. Asher O'Hara, you mentioned, from Middle Tennessee. Dude puts up huge numbers. Never going to be a player on Sundays, but like I said, those are the types of guys I'd like to target. I mean, seeing as these are all pipeline leagues, you see a lot of these guys, like the Devy prospects, go early, and you can get these guys really, really late and just plug them into your lineup week in, week out, get immediate production. Holton Allers, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, from East Carolina, and Dustin Crum from Kent State are another two. And Spencer Sanders, I think, is on a lot of rosters already from Oklahoma State. But he's another one. So those are just a few of the guys I'm targeting. And then if you want to talk about some of the more highly regarded guys like that are in Devy circles, you got your Spencer Rattler, Sam Howell, Jaden Daniels is another. I think even Ian Book, who I don't really think is that talented, but should put up big numbers this year. Those are some of the guys. And Justin Fields, obviously, Trevor Lawrence, etc.
You got anything, Pete? Is there anybody you like on that list there? Or?
Yeah, Jamie Newman. Actually, Joseph and I made a trade earlier in the offseason with that. I'm a bit, if you're in a league with me, you're probably going to be able to take advantage of me with Georgia Bulldogs. I'll be the first. I'm a sucker, dude. Just one of my biggest things. I just like watching the players for teams I enjoy watching. A guy who just transferred, Mike Leach, running his offense out here at Washington State. He just went over to Mississippi State, and KJ Costello, who had been at Stanford. There was some Devy love for him. This last year really fell off, but now he's going out there. and Tyrell Shavers just transferred up to Mississippi State. So I'm big on that. I think he's going to be a really big producer for you in your college fantasy football stuff. And I mean, it's such a crop of quarterbacks that are coming in. Everybody knows your Fields, your Lawrence, Howell. There is, I think over the last few years, we've really talked about how kind of like the 2017, the 2019, there's these certain draft classes of like running backs. We're just going to kind of lay waste to all of our old favorites. I think there's going to be a huge influx of talent at the quarterback position. And the biggest thing is just hopefully that, offensive coordinators some of them can move out of the dark ages and bring up a lot of the college ideas and game plans.
Right. I like it. I'm high on Shane Buechele. I think that's how you say it. From Southern Methodist, right? Is that what it is? SMU? I'm drawing a blank for some reason.
Yeah, that's it.
Extremely hot room, so I feel like I'm going to start by. And a lot of these guys too, you can get on waivers later on in the year, like the Hawaii's quarterback. I think it's actually pronounced Kevin, if I had to guess, Kevin Cordero, although it looks like Shevin, but it could be Kevin. So I'm not good at this stuff. So I think it's probably Kevin. If I'm those names that look like another name, but they're probably more simple than you think. I got him in a lot of leagues last year on waivers, and I think he's going to light it up this year, like Hawaii always does. So June Jones likes to get just chucking around down there and stuff. So crazy things they do. And another guy, Derek King, could possibly, if he comes back to how he was looking 2 years ago, he could be like right up there in the top 5 of scoring for college quarterbacks. So. Yeah, so those are guys that and then we're going to go into the guys that are actually draft eligible this year. Coming up, your draft prospects. We'll talk about some of these guys. I put them in the order that I currently have them, although I'm constantly tweaking these guys, like especially, I think my top 5 or 7 is probably fairly solid. I shuffle them around a little bit in there, but I'm just kind of curious. I'll get you guys' I'll go through like my top 5, and then I'll let you guys kind of extrapolate on that a little bit, see what you guys think. I don't think you'll see a lot of people argue that Trevor Lawrence at 1, Justin Fields 2, Trey Lance 3. I have Tanner Morgan from Minnesota at 4, Brock Purdy from Iowa State at 5. I don't know, Pete? What do you have on those guys? Is there any you like in there, or is there anybody you think I'm too high on?
No, I think 1, 2, and 3. I think everybody's going to have the same ones, the same 3. Maybe some people might have. We've seen Daniel Jeremiah, I think, dropped it that he had Trey Lance as being his top quarterback over Lawrence, over Fields.
Blasphemy.
People are allowed to be wrong, Joseph. It's okay. I mean, Dan Jeremiah is like he is up there for a reason. He's very good. Yeah. But that should open a lot of eyes. I would probably say Purdy and Newman are my 4 or 5, and you can kind of flip either one. So,
all right, you got anything on those, Joe? You like that 5 or?
Yeah, I mean, I had Fields at 1 coming into college, so I kind of stuck to that for probably a little bit too long. But I do have Lawrence 1 now. I think for me, what it was I saw Fields as the dual threat rushing upside and thought that was, I saw them as similar passers, but Fields was a little bit more mobile. So I had him at 1. And then like you watch Lawrence and he can move, but then you see what he does in the college football playoff and you're like, oh, this guy can run. Mm-hmm. So if he's running like that, I think he probably has a little bit better arm talent than Fields. So I've Lawrence 1, Fields 2, Lance firmly at 3. And then I have Newman and Purdy as my 4 or 5. So I think we're all kind of in lockstep there. And I think Morgan's my 6. So
right, yeah. So I'll have the
we agree.
Top 6. So.
Yep.
I have Newman 6, Kyle Trask from Florida at 7. I've been watching more of the Chase Garbers. I think he's got a shot at the NFL. I don't know. So I have him at 8. Mac Jones from Alabama 9. KJ Costello, Mississippi State 10. This is where we get crazy because I've seen so many different rankings, and the 6 to 15 to 20 is all over the place. Like I'm curious. I'll let you start off, Joe. Like Joseph, is that 6 to 10 good for you, or like who would you throw in there? I don't know. I'm higher on Mac Jones than a lot of people. I know that. So I don't know. What do you got? Like,
yeah, I think we have some similar names. I have let's see. I have KJ Costello as my 7. I have Morgan at 6. Costello at 7. I think a lot of the things Pete touched on earlier should help boost his draft stock. Going to throw for a ton of yards. Going to get to produce in a Leach system. We saw the last 2 Leach quarterbacks make it to the NFL. Not highly drafted. You got Minshew and I think the 6th, and Anthony Gordon go undrafted this year, but they're on rosters. I think Costello is probably more naturally talented than either one. So we'll see what he gets to do in that system. Kellen Mond, I guess. Like, I don't love him, but I like some of the traits. Davis Mills is actually a guy I like a lot. Very highly regarded recruit. Tore both of his ACLs in consecutive seasons, I think. But as a Stanford fan, I think he has a lot of natural arm talent. I think he's a lot more talented than KJ Costello. He just simply hasn't been able to play. So I'm hopeful to see him develop this year. Excited about him. And then I have Trask right behind him and Mac Jones rounding out my top 10.
Right now, Pete, is there any of those guys in that 6 to 10 range? Do you see any of those guys that possibly going up into the top 5 or like going maybe up to 4? Is there any of those guys you like a lot?
Maybe Costello, and that's a big maybe. Trask might, if Trask puts on a heck of a show this year, I'm sure you're going to see, coaches in the NFL are going to look at that helmet and they're going to see SEC, they're going to see Florida, and he might get a bump off of that. De'Aaron King, I've liked him a lot, and unfortunate stuff that everything went down at Houston, but now he's at the U. Adrian Martinez, I liked him coming out, but that hasn't really continued. Same with DTR, Dorian Thompson Robinson. If you remember, watched like the Elite 11, which was, God, that was such a fun season where you had just a wealth of talent. And he looked great, but it has not shown really at UCLA. And so and he's got skills, but it hasn't shown up. So I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, those are guys I put like down on my lower level. Like I got Ellinger at 20, Adrian Martinez 21, Mon 22, DTR 24. They're just a lot of fun to watch. Michael Penix Jr. from Indiana, really fun college guys that can run and just kind of, spark an offense. But I just don't see it in the NFL. It's just they're fun to watch. Somebody asked me on Twitter about DTR the other day, and I because of my work schedule, I tend to watch a lot of the Pac-12 after dark on Saturday nights. So I watched DTR play probably 4 times last year. He's a hell of a lot of fun to watch, but he just doesn't have the arm and stuff. My 11 to 15 is kind of all over the place. Like these 11 to 20 are shuffling constantly. I have Phil Jerkovich from Boston College, just kind of an unproven guy. Hopefully gets a shot this year to really step forward. Matt Corral from Ole Miss, Shane Buechele from SMU, Davis Mills, Stanford, and De'Aaron King from Miami. We've talked about a couple of those guys already. These are, bring up a couple names here that we haven't talked about. 16, Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati. 17, Anthony Russo from Temple. 18, Miles Brennan from LSU. And 19, Michael Penix Jr. from Indiana. Do you guys have anything on those guys, any of that area? Any of those guys you like more than me that you think could possibly rise up? Joseph?
I think he's someone I haven't watched a lot of. What I've seen is actually really impressive and someone I want to dive in a little bit more into. So not going to pretend I've gone super deep into his tape, but I like him a lot. And Ritter is interesting to me out of Cincinnati. Think he has some nice arm talent. Was a little bit more inconsistent than I thought he was going to be last year. Started out the year pretty hot, as I think, if I'm recalling correctly, tailed off a little bit. But he's someone I like. Don't really know anything about Anthony Russo at this point. Miles Brennan is someone I think could be pretty impressive with some of the weapons he's surrounded with at LSU. I don't know how talented he is on his own merit. He's a good player, but I don't think he's much of a prospect at this point. I believe that's everyone you mentioned.
Pretty close, yeah. You got anything, Pete, on any of those guys? Or
no, I think Joe hit it pretty right on. So we talked about some of the guys for college fantasy stuff to be taking a look at, and he's going to be going into his 7th collegiate year. He just transferred up to UW, but Kevin Thompson, he's did some decent pub on him coming out, but I mean that was 2014 when he first got recruited to UNLV. Tore up his elbow. He's dealt with some injury stuff. He played pretty well at Sac State his last 2 seasons, but he's going to be up at UW for this year. I could, imagine he might be the starter. It's good.
Take that evil out of here, Pete. It's grandma's time, baby.
It's man, the UW quarterback room. Whoever it is.
I'm sorry, I'm totally lost. Yeah.
Oh, no worries. So the University of Washington, University of Washington, UW quarterback room is in some flux. Eason went.
Gotcha.
So I think Thompson could be a good play for you in your later rounds if you want to just sneak somebody. I doubt he's owned anywhere unless you just play some sort of insane deep league. But I think that's a good one for you. Just kind of keep an eye on. He's going to be much older. Like I said, this is year 7. So,
jeez.
Yeah.
Lots of people go to college for 7 years. Yeah, they're called doctors. Yeah, UW in this neck of the woods is Wisconsin. So you totally lost me on that one. All right, sorry about that. I was like, get out of here, man. Graham Mertz's job, baby. All right, so then we're going to get past this class. Where'd my chart go? 2022 guys. There we go. All right, we're going to talk about some guys here these are guys that most of these guys should be owned, but if they aren't, you need to grab them up. We got some guys. My top 5 for 2022 guys are Sam Howell from North Carolina, Spencer Rattler from Oklahoma, Jaden Daniels from Arizona State, Keaton Slovis from USC, and Bo Nix from Auburn. You guys got anybody on those? We'll lead off with you on this one, Pete. Tell me who you got.
Sam Howell, I think that's going to be your consensus top one for 2022. Spencer Rattler is going to be that meteoric riser. You're talking about the guy who's going to be stepping into the Oklahoma offense. So he's going to become, and if you watched any, was he Elite 11 or he was in one of the quarterback documentaries? Was it the Netflix one? He was in one of them.
Yeah.
I forget which one it was, but if you watch what he can do with his arm, throwing off, just off platform. He just makes the ball zip. He's a lot of fun. He's going to be great to watch at Oklahoma. I think you're right with Daniels at Arizona State. I might put Slovis just above Daniels. And even Bo Nix, I think, is right up in there. I think your 1-2 are probably Rattler, Howell, and then Nix, Daniels, Slovis. That's kind of my 3, 4, 5. So
I saw Matt Hicks tweeted the other day that he had Jaden Daniels as the number 1, which I had a nice back and forth with him on that. That was pretty good. I'm always open to discuss these things. Who do you have, Joseph? Who do you like out of that class?
Yeah, I think we're all on the same page here. I have Howell number 1, Rattler 2, Slovis 3, Daniels 4, and Nix 5. A note on Daniels, that dude needs to put on at least 25 pounds. He is the skinniest, other than James Blackman. Daniels might be the skinniest quarterback I've seen at 6'3". Beautiful deep ball, lot of mobility, really fast, but my God, he's not.
Who was the quarterback out of Oregon a few years back? He was a Heisman, and then he went to Pittsburgh. You know who I'm talking about? Rail thin guy. That's. He makes Daniels look even leaner. So I'm blanking on his name.
Yeah,
but here's the name.
I know who you're talking about. I can see him.
Yeah, me too.
2022 though, we're gonna find out what's gonna happen with JT Daniels. There's another name. So if he comes in, or if he gets redshirted. He could likely be eligible for 2022.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I like Daniels. You and your Georgia Bulldogs, Pete. But no, I'm a little bit lower than most on Daniels. I think just based on what I saw from his freshman season, plus then the injury and the transfer. But he's very talented, and 2022. Is not a class I really like at many other positions, but the quarterback looks like it's going to be stacked. So excited about that.
Yep, a couple other names. I got Ryan Helinski from South Carolina 6, Max Duggan, TCU 7, Grant Gunnell from Arizona 8, Graham Mertz from Wisconsin at 9, KJ Jefferson from Arkansas at 10, Dylan Gabriel at UCF 11, and then Jacob Zeno at Baylor at 12. And those are guys that I shuffle around a little bit too. I like Kalinsky a lot of that group. I'm hoping Graham Mertz takes a step forward. I loved a lot of what he did in the like all the camps that he did after high school and stuff. But he's just, I don't trust Wisconsin to turn out a good quarterback. And does that sound? I know they had Russell Wilson, but they have not been a very quarterback friendly school. So I'm hoping they can like develop the offense around him other than just a running game and let him be an actual quarterback. But I think the skill's there. And a guy I like to jump up a lot. But as for right now, he's mired at 9 for me. So is anybody you like in that group a lot, Pete? Or
Holinsky, he's got some ties up here to the Pacific Northwest. Unfortunately, his brother, I'm sure you've seen the stories, but unfortunately, his brother had CTE and committed suicide. So, that's a guy I always pull for. I think Dugan, and then, Zeno has, I got some intrigue on Zeno, but that's about it.
Right. Zeno could be another one of those guys that's really good in college. The fantasy, put up a lot of points at Baylor. But yeah, do you got anybody in there, Joseph, you like a lot of the lower tier, or anybody you want to add?
Yeah, I have Holinsky at 6, and then I actually have Mertz at 7. I'm optimistic about his development, and Grant Gunnell at 8. I cannot get over TCU's struggles at quarterback last year. Like I see people a little bit higher on Duggan than I am, and I see the tools. I just seeing Jalen Reagor go through what he went through, trying to have any sort of on target passes and not being able to get any. I don't know. I'm not really into him, but yeah, Dylan Gabriel, I think probably more of a college style QB than a Devy prospect, but I'm intrigued by him as well. But yeah, outside the top 6 or 7. I'm not really interested in many of these guys, at least yet.
Yeah, obviously someone could take a step forward. So in 2023, we got potentially a really, really fun class in 2023. I just added 10 on here. I haven't even really ranked them yet. This is a loose ranking. Bryce Young going to Alabama, DJ Ukulele, Clemson, Harrison Bailey, Tennessee, CJ Stroud, Ohio State, Haynes King, Texas A&M, Chuba Purdy, Florida State, Robbie Ashford, Oregon, Malik Hornsby at Arkansas, and then Evan Prater at Cincinnati. Those are 10 guys that I really like a lot that are kind of on my early list that I haven't really scouted a whole lot. I don't know if there's any of those guys that you guys really like a lot other than obviously the first couple. I think everybody's in love with Bryce and DJ, but
yep.
Is there anybody else like Joseph on that list down there that you really like that you're trying to get this year? Or?
Yeah, Stroud is my 3rd, Bailey's my 4th. So you mentioned those 2 guys in that same range for you. A couple guys further down that you mentioned that I like. Chuba Purdy, Brock Purdy's brother. I like him at Florida State. Jay Butterfield at Oregon is another one I like. And Evan Prater, Cincinnati. Depending on what happens with Desmond Ridder, I think he's pretty talented. Haven't really watched too much of some of the other guys, but looking at the 24/7 composite rankings, you have like Hudson Card and Jaquindon Jackson are the number 4 and 5 ranked QBs in the class. They're both committed to Texas, and they have Sam Ehlinger starting there. So you're not going to see those guys for at least a year, and then you're going to have to watch one of them sit while, yeah. So I don't. It's like the same thing with like the Georgia running backs every year, where you get, and Alabama too, but Georgia more recently, where you get 5-star after 5-star, and at some point, like none of them, you have a pipeline there, so eventually you're going to get a 1st or 2nd round pick into the NFL. The next guy's going to step up, but I don't get why these guys are all committing to the same high profile programs when they're not going to get a chance to show what they can do on the field.
Yeah, that's like I mentioned Robbie Ashford, and there is Jay Butterfield there as well at Oregon, and I kind of go back and forth with which one I like better. Butterfield's more of the prototype quarterback for what Oregon usually has, but Ashford's got a lot of talent too. So,
yep.
I don't know, Pete, anybody you like there? Or?
I'm surprised you got DJ Ukulele's name. You're either very confident in it, or I was surprised you nailed it right. So, there was I think Rivals or somebody had some Instagram clips of I think Justin Fields throwing like a 75-yard pass. They're just kind of showing off arm strength during, one of these competitions. But DJ uncorked like an 85-yarder. And that dude, he's that dude. He looks like the Madden creative player guy. He's going to be fun to watch at Clemson. This is just bountiful riches for Clemson. It's cool. Bryce Young, I saw a tweet earlier today that he put on like 20 pounds. And if you saw him coming up, I mean, he needed to put on those 20 pounds, especially if he's going to be playing at Bama. So I wasn't as high on him just because of the kind of, like, he was looking a little lean, but man, if he's putting on that weight and it's good weight, that's a big plus. Dennis Dixon, as I just pull that name out of the hat, is the quarterback I was talking with when comparing Jaden Daniels.
I knew it.
Yeah, so it's just total brain working randomly. Purdy, I think, is the other, going to Florida State. That's, and then we're talking up here in the Northwest. I think it's going to be Butterfield. So I think that's going to be your guy up at Oregon if you're going to be looking for that.
Right. Purdy is interesting because it seems like God, I can't think of their coach's name now. He had some turmoil last week about the way he was talking, and he's losing his locker room already. And it's like, geez.
Yeah, Mike Norvell, I think.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, these guys, it's all this stuff's crazy, and you just got to be quiet. Be quiet. Don't rock the boat, especially as a head coach, and you're trying to get your program back on track. Settle down. So Bryce Young and DJU are two guys who I mean, obviously not DJU, but I could see Bryce starting this year.
Yeah,
we talked about this a couple shows ago. We did. I think it was with Kane. That we could possibly see. If Mac Jones doesn't, take a step forward, that Bryce Young could potentially start. Although that doesn't typically something Saban would do. So, so that's pretty much all I had for quarterbacks. Is there anything you guys wanted to talk about other than that, or anything you wanted to dive in a little more on? Or
I'll say a guy to be targeting for this is the next year incoming freshman. He's going to be continuing the lineage up here in the Pacific Northwest at the University of Washington. It's the next Heward. I think he's one. I think he's not, if not the top quarterback in 2021. He's going to be a great. Yeah. So Brock Heward and Damon Heward were, brothers, both quarterbacks here up at University of Washington, both in the NFL. And now I want to say it's Damon's son. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm drawing a blank. If you see my brain's pulling out Dennis Dixon, but it's not pulling this out right now. So I think he's going to be fun, in next year. And just, as we keep talking about, man, there's just more and more guys coming up. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the list right now. My computer is so slow. It's scary that I remember Damon Heward.
Yeah. I just looked it up. It's Damon Heward's son.
Damon Heward's son. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at this Joseph on the camera, and Joseph looks like he could be my son, actually. So, you look like you're old enough to be my son. So.
Yeah. Who were you mentioning that was
I didn't know you were 18.
Yeah, no, well, not that young, but P, who were you talking about when you said they were still in school in 2014?
Kevin Thompson. He just transferred from Sacramento State up to UW. He would originally been recruited to UNLV. So,
yeah, no one that is. Jesus Christ, my brain's scrambled. Also, I shouldn't have been in school at the same time as anyone that's still on a college football field. Is what I'll say. Yeah. So.
Well, like Dave said, some people go to school for 7 years, just typically they're called doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big guys I'm looking at in 2021, I can't get it to totally populate. But they have Caleb Williams at number 1 right now. He's committed to Oklahoma for the time being. Heward to Washington. Brock Vandegrift, Georgia. J.J. McCarthy, Michigan. Kyle McCord, Ohio State. A couple of guys that are big. Gosh, yeah. It just seems like every year these top 12 or 15 all go to the same schools, and they're just going to, transferring. So.
Yeah, the interest. Yeah, so The interesting thing about Caleb Williams, I've actually seen a lot of stuff recently linking him to Maryland, which would be very interesting. I know they managed to snag Raheem Jarrett from LSU somehow. Raheem Jarrett, incoming freshman, I'm very excited about, wide receiver. But if Caleb Williams somehow decides to spurn Oklahoma and playing with Lincoln Riley, I know we'd have to sit behind Rattler for a year, but if he decides to go to Maryland instead of going to Oklahoma, I think we could see Maryland on the come up sooner rather than later.
Right, because actually he's not fully committed to Oklahoma. It's got Oklahoma and LSU as the top two, but it has Maryland right there as well. Like right behind them. So, that would be crazy. Like there were times last year. Remember Maryland started out codded and all heck last year, and they looked like they might have been like a decent team, and then they just started getting smoked. So yeah, it was like the first couple of games they scored like 60, 70 points, and then they lost like 7 games in a row. But yeah, that's what most teams do. So.
I mean, they've somehow churned out some like actual impressive NFL receivers recently. Yeah. I mean, DJ Moore, Stephon Diggs, very random.
Just looking through all these top quarterbacks, seeing if my Michigan State Spartans have one, and of course they don't. So. Continue sucking. We suck again. Sorry, guys. All right, let's see. I guess we'll wrap it up for tonight. So we can go watch the Hobbit movie. We can go to the camper where it's like 95 degrees. Maybe I'll go jump in the lake tonight. Who knows? All right. Joseph, can you tell everybody where they can find you on Twitter, what you're working on right now? The thing you want people to know about you, bud.
So you can find me on Twitter at jnamor24. All my work's over at DLF right now. I also, during the like NFL draft process, I send some rankings over to Fantasy Pros for both Dynasty and the actual draft. But after that, pretty much everything I do is on DLF. Recently submitted an article this week previewing the 2021, 22, and 23 classes from a Devy and just a overall perspective. So anyone that's not intimately familiar with the Devy landscape kind of gets an idea of the strengths and weaknesses of each class and kind of how to plan out which year's draft picks to target and that sort of thing. So that's something I want to plug. Other than that, just kind of pull in my my normal rookie profiles and all that stuff.
All right, Pete.
You can find me on Twitter at _Pete Law. If you see my tweet, like Joseph is that dude. So we all play in a league together. I think we might have another league together, maybe 3. I mean, I'm not just like fluffing him up, not just trying to, inflate his ego, but I think the first year with Heisman to Hollis, you won the college and you won the NFL. Did you win the NFL side last year?
No, my NFL team was horrible, but the college side, I came in second.
Yeah.
So I had Tua, and not having him in the finals hurt.
Yeah. So he's that dude. Go give him a follow on Twitter. He posts up a lot of great stuff. I remember you were talking in the DLF Slack about doing this 21, 22, and 23 one. So I'm looking forward to that. Otherwise, just follow me on Twitter. Always, you can hit me up whenever. Hey.
All right. You can find me on Twitter at People's Champ. It's like these guys just working on rookie stuff at DLF for the time being. I'm looking forward to that article too, man, because that's one thing we get a lot as Devy people on Twitter is we get those questions, like how do we compare the classes and stuff. And, I'd like to do more in-depth rankings and things like that myself. Like what I showed you guys was just like a little glimpse of something that I'm building, but at the rate I build things, it might be ready by the time the 2024 class graduate. I build very slowly, so but it sucks because people graduate at the time. Yeah, so I'll probably never really fully release it out to the public, but it's there for me, damn it. You can find this podcast on Twitter at Devy Manual, and we will get back at you guys next week or 2. We'll talk about running backs. We'll have another great guest for you guys. So everybody stay safe and careful. Take care, guys. Woo. Joseph, thank you, man. Thank you.
Nice. I appreciate you guys having me on. Pete, thanks for the kind words. Over the air and on Twitter as usual. I appreciate it.
You are, and like every league I'm in, you're like one of the top ones every year. It's annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was very upset that we rebooted the staff league.
I'm not.
Because
No.
I was that was my,
Oh, your
that
team
was my
was
baby.
set, yeah.
Yeah, I had traded Antonio Brown before the season for what ended up being the 102. So I was looking forward to adding Jonathan Taylor, Clyde Edwards-Helaire with that pick, and didn't get it. I also I came in second. I traded during the season. I traded Marvin Jones, Emmanuel Sanders, John Brown, I think, and someone else. Like I traded 3 or 4 aging receivers for second round picks, hoping to like get to restock in this loaded class, and then the league folded. So it happens.
It's all right, dude. I bid on 2 players that I actually didn't want, and I won.
Me
them.
too. Me too.
And it was a lot. It was $200-something. So
Jesus. Yeah.
I was like, oh, sweet. I won Devontae Adams and Julio. Like, all right, at least they're good. But I was like, fuck, that was the wrong player.
Yeah. I got Jerry Jeudy and Devontae Parker, I think.
Yeah.
And,
see, but what, you lost like 130. I lost like 400. So
yeah. That's fair.
Now I'm like, woo, I've got like 6 dudes maybe, and then there's a bunch of like $1 guys.
Yeah, I had like $12 left.
Yeah.
With like 7 players on my roster and like 500 players left in the auction.
Did you nominate Harris the other day?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking for him. Like, I was like, oh man, he must have already went. And then I saw you nominate him. I'm like, well, I got like $4 and it's already there. So.
I know. I went for it. I had no idea. I know there were a couple of people with like a lot of money left. Figured he wasn't going to go for $1, but
dude, there's guys with like 7 quarterbacks. I'm like, dude, it's 1 quarterback. Like, I understand this auction setup, but
yeah.
All right, bro. Like, fuck it. I can't bid on a quarter. I got Russell Wilson and somebody else. I got like Kyle Allen. So
yeah, I wanted Kyle Allen. You sniped him from me. I'm like, I'm not going to try and outbid someone for Kyle Allen, but my God.
Let's take that $2 bid right there. Woo.
Yeah. I got Kyler at what I thought was a good price. That probably
you did,
wasn't.
Yeah. I was ticked because I think I got Russell for 130 and you got Kyler for like